So the Bibby Stockholm barge is up and running now. You could probably fill that on a Johnson family holiday, couldn't you?
Just stop all. Yeah, I've worn badges once saying Extinction Rebellion.
I recall you saying that the British public don't know how to spell, that they can't even spell the word Pinocchio. Can you?
P-I-N-N.
No.
No?
Could you get me a date with Boris? No? I'm Ellie Fishleigh, politically promiscuous and single lady. They say you shouldn't talk about politics on the first date. But what if your date is with a politician? Well, this is the dating show where I reach across the divide and find out if these political figures are as electable as they are delectable. This is The Single Market, political speed dates.
Ellie's dinner date today is part of a dynasty in British politics. No, not Larry the Cat, but Stanley Johnson, MEP turned TV star and father to you-know-who.
Stanley, so nice to
Hello,
meet you.
well, lovely to be here.
Hello, take a seat. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, absolutely fine. I'm here. What a wonderful place.
Well, I have to say, I was half expecting you to be made of bronze.
Oh, that's a good one. That is done by a fantastic Czech sculptor.
Named?
He was absolutely brilliant. Well, it's quite difficult to pronounce. It's Vlach, something like that.
I won't try.
No, it's V-L-A-C. No, I'm thrilled. And he actually has got quite a good likeness.
Yeah, it's not bad. Could you get one made of me?
Yeah, why not? Why not? I mean, it's nice to be immortalized.
Well, I've been looking at the menu, and unfortunately, they don't have bull's testicles. Did you enjoy eating those?
You don't actually eat them, I've got to say. What you had to do, and you're talking about I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of There.
Indeed.
2017. What you have to do, you have to put your head in the bucket, okay? And you're not allowed to use your hands, but you have to grab.
Like apple bobbing.
Is that what it is? And then what you have to do, you had to pass it on to the next person. In my case, it was a chap called Ian Lee, who is probably known to you because he's also a broadcaster. He does a program, I think, or something or other. Anyway, he's a very tall man, and he had a very big beard. And actually, the difficult thing was for me, to get my face near his face for him. Near
like
enough,
reaching for a kiss.
Near enough. Well, exactly. The only thing, his beard was, well, slightly irksome, I've got to say. But the
He's in the jungle, after all.
The bull's testicle was fine.
Well, you know what? I'm hungry now, but how about mixed starter?
Mixed starter would be great.
A mixed starter, please. But while we're waiting, I wanted to ask you a little bit about you and your family. Do you have kids?
I do indeed. I have 4 children. In fact, they're more than children now because they're like grown up. I mean, some of them are, approaching 60. So kids in a sense, almost a misnomer now.
What do they do?
Well, one's been involved in politics. In fact, 2 were involved in politics. And then one is an environmental consultant, one is an artist. I mean, it goes on.
Sounds like quite the dynasty. Who's the better dynasty? The Johnsons or the Kardashians?
No, you got me there. I'm not up to speed with the Kardashians.
Should have chosen a more contemporary reference, maybe.
You've got it.
So, did you ever work in politics?
Did I work in politics? Well, I've been in politics. I've been a member of the European Parliament and things like that.
Right.
Whether that counts as working is, of course, an interesting
I think
matter.
it does, because I was wondering if when you were an MEP, it was anything like the plot of your 1987 book, The Commissioner, about a young man who gets involved in politics.
Oh,
It was
funny you've got to go. No,
Yeah,
oddly enough,
an original.
I've never seen that version of this book. I'm thrilled by that. Yes, it was made into a film.
Yes.
It was made into a film with John Hurt in the title role, the role of the Commissioner. It had a pretty.
I want to know more about the Commissioner because I'm wondering where you got the idea. So, once a rising star of the Westminster firmament, his career was on the wane and his marriage heading for the rocks when Morton was nominated as the British member of the European Commission. Wherever did you get that idea?
Look at this. This is very, very nice.
I don't think you could apple bob those.
Look at that. What have we got there? Which is good.
As I understand it, Thailand has very nice beaches. I mean, I'm a simple girl. I just want someone who likes long walks on the beach. But as I understand it, Britain's beaches aren't so romantic right now, are they?
Well, you have a problem, don't you, on the way in which the pollution has really affected British beaches. Now, when I was in the European Commission, European Parliament, we actually had EU legislation which laid down standards, water quality standards, which bathing water should reach. And we had a whole set of things called the Clean Beach Programme, the Blue Beach Programme, the Blue Flag Programme. I'm very sad in a way that we've left the EU from this sort of point of view, because we did have a strong environmental programme in the EU, and Britain was part of that.
We've got very dirty beaches now. Do you think that Therese Coffey's dumped the issue?
No, I think she takes it very, very seriously, as a matter of fact. And I think she's made some good statements. So the problem is we don't any longer have the kind of legal framework which we had before, the strong legal framework and the legal targets. When we were in the Commission, there were EU compulsory standards to be met. And you could, an NGO, even a local person, could take the British government to court and say, you're not actually enforcing the standards. That's gone now.
I want to go back to your writing, because you didn't just write The Commissioner. You wrote another book in 2015 called The Virus, about a deadly virus and the fight to stop a pandemic. Are you Nostradamus?
Well, I did indeed write The Virus. Oddly enough, I wrote The Virus way back in 1969, 1970.
Why didn't you stop it?
I went to visit a small town in Germany called Marburg, and Marburg in 1967 had an outbreak of a virus. I said to myself, what could this be? And I did then write a thriller called The Marburg Virus, and yes, you're right, in 2015 it was reissued under the title The Virus.
So you're not Nostradamus?
So I'm not Nostradamus. I also wrote
That's a shame. I was wondering when my shoes were going to arrive. I've got a party on Saturday. I thought you could predict it for me.
I enjoy writing novels. I've written, I think 11, 12 novels.
Lost track.
Other serious books about the environment, and a couple of memoirs. And I think I might be doing another one, but this will be a posthumous one called Stanley, I Exhume, or something like that.
I look forward to it. Well, hopefully not too soon.
What worries me now, as we approach the next election, is we're going to see a kind of Dutch auction, and both political parties are going to say, God, who's going to be toughest on getting rid of some of these irritating environmental things like ULEZ and commitments to do things about boilers and getting rid of the diesel engine cars. I'm really worried that we're going to move in the wrong direction on that, and fingers crossed we don't.
You're quite the environmentalist, aren't you? What do you think of Just Stop Oil?
Just Stop Oil. Yeah, I've worn badges once saying Extinction Rebellion. The key issue here is to get to the target which we have accepted nationally and internationally, which is indeed to get to net zero by the year 2050, to try and keep the rise in temperature below 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now, I'm not in fact in favour of, disruption. I'm not in fact in favour of making life difficult, but I am in favour of having detailed, worked out programs with minimum disruption and minimum cost on people, which do get us on the right track, and we're not there yet.
What do you think of Rishi Sunak?
I think he's a fine man. I think he's doing a good job. We wait to see.
I recall you saying that the British public don't know how to spell, that they can't even spell the word Pinocchio. Can you?
P-I-N-N?
No.
No? P-I-N?
Yes.
Well, there you go. I was going to go P-I-N-O-C-C-H-I-O.
Oh, I was going to ask you to spell pneumo-ultramicroscopic silicovolcanoconiosis, but maybe you can't do that one either.
Wait a moment. Say it again.
Pneumo-ultramicroscopic silicovolcanoconiosis.
Wow. No, I can't do that. I like it.
Maybe we do need more spelling lessons.
So this is a kind of illness which affects the lung, is that right?
Good start. The definition is an infection of the lungs caused by the inhalation of small silicate or quartz dust.
Yeah, I thought I was more or less than
close enough. So the Bibby Stockholm barge is up and running now. You could probably fill that on a Johnson family holiday, couldn't you?
The Bibby Stockholm barge, very interesting. I think they're extremely lucky, those people, that they're in such a wonderful part of the world. I mean, I tell you, that Dorset coastline is superb. If they are able to walk off and
If they're able.
I'm sure they are, because they're not legally restricted, I think, from walking off, going on shore, and so on and so forth. I'm sure that's not the case. They're not prisoners on that barge. No, I think it's a very interesting situation down there. It's, who can tell? I think the government actually has probably picked up a policy. If it works, I'm not talking about the barge, I think that you have to deal with this problem. And obviously, I put my money at the moment on the Rwanda problem, because the precedent we have is the Australians. When they went ahead with the Nauru scheme, it actually did almost overnight cut the flow of immigrants.
So you don't think that the barge will deter people from coming because it's such a nice view from the port?
No, I don't think the barge is meant to be the deterrent. That's not the point. The deterrent aspect is meant to be, if you are trying to arrive here illegally, you do run the risk of going to, well, obviously Rwanda is what we have on the table at the moment. There was an idea of Ascension too. Well, I've been down to Ascension, and I can tell you, that's not the place you could possibly run the kind of facility which you have now. It's just not feasible.
Tell me about it. What's it like there?
Ascension was wonderful. I went down there because I was very interested in expanding the no-take zone. The no-take meaning they've got a fishing zone around the island, and if you want to have a marine protected area, you actually have to have officially no-take regions. And so the Ascension government, as it was, needed to be behind that. Yes, there was a big push from Whitehall to do that. Zach Goldsmith, for example, very keen on expanding the no-take zone, having a marine protection area. Well, we've now got it. But I did go down there, and I swam with the turtles, and I looked at the albatross and the fulmar, and the sooty terns. Those are very, very big and very big.
I don't think the migrants would be swimming with the turtles, though.
Well, I don't know, they might. These are young men. I don't think there's any point at all in kind of mythologizing the migrants. They're young people who are looking for. The problem is they've got caught up in these gang, the kind of whole illegal things, and we've got to sort it out. I rather agree with Priti Patel and Suella Braverman, who say actually we've got to deal with the money. Follow the money, follow the gangs, deal with that.
Go on, one of your children was in politics. Was it Boris Johnson? Yeah? Could you get me a date with Boris? No? All right, well, another question about Boris. I read that in 2018, you thought he didn't go far enough when he said that the burqas look like letterboxes. Would you still be on this date if I were wearing a burqa?
Oh, I've got nothing against burqas at all. My point on that particular occasion was that if you were a female fighter pilot in a combat situation, then obviously you wouldn't and shouldn't be wearing a burqa. That's all I wanted to say. There must be, and probably there's some cases, when a judge would want to see the face of the person. So that's all I'm trying to say, is that you cannot say it's a God-given right to wear a burqa in every possible circumstance.
But you would say they look a bit like a letterbox.
I wouldn't say anything at all. I'm not in. I said what I said because I think I said it on Channel 4 in a public. I still think if you're a female fighter pilot, it would not be very helpful, to have a burqa on.
I'm sort of surprised you're still here, Stanley, because you stormed off Piers Morgan's programme when you went on that.
No, I'm trying to think when that was and what the issue was. I don't remember storming. I think I've ever stormed off in my life.
Maybe you walked.
No, I do remember Piers Morgan. He once rather brilliantly caught me when I decided I would do a handstand in the middle of when he was on Good Morning Britain. I think there's a clip of it sometime, and all the money fell out of my pocket, and my head was on the floor. He was holding my legs, and there was this tinkling sound of all the coins falling. And I said to Piers, with my head down there, well, I've always wanted to put my money where my mouth is, anyway.
You know what? This is all getting too real for me. I'm Ellie Fishleigh, politically promiscuous single lady. Get me out of here!
Everything comes to a stop, but you don't get the 5 gold stars.